Well, welcome to another episode of the Perception Evolution Project. Continuing on with our Blue is the New White series, talking all about the opportunities that exist in the trades that aren't talked about, and really just how people can benefit from a career in the trades as an alternative or a viable career path. So today I'm here with a special guest out from Houston, Texas.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Todd Sherrill. Right now with Bluon Energy.
That's correct.
And he's going to talk with us a little bit today about his experience, his journey through the trades, and how it has defined his success. So without further ado, Todd, why don't you just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about who you are, where you came from, and in a nutshell, how you got to where you are today.
Todd Sherrill from Houston. I live about a couple hours southwest of Houston, Texas. Man, it's been a long career. 20 years in the HVAC industry. It's been great. Wouldn't change anything for the world. So when I got started in this whole deal, it was kind of crazy. So graduated high school and was like, what am I going to do? Had no clue. And so I actually got a full ride scholarship to a junior college for 1 year on a rodeo scholarship.
Rodeo scholarship?
Yeah, rodeo.
Really?
So my family grew up rodeoing. And so I was like, man, I'll just go do that. I hated college. I hated English, reading. I hated all those subjects. I hated it in school, high school. So I was like, I'll go do that. Well, that lasted the first semester. Didn't work out very good. So I said, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. And so my dad at the time worked in the plants as a crane operator. And so he's like, hey, man, I'll get you a job, but whatever you do, you cannot quit. I'm like, so I got a job as a pipe fitters helper in a chemical plant, working 16 hours a day, running a 7-inch grinder. And so that was pretty crazy, and it was terrible. I mean, they worked you to death, and it was rough. But it was a great job. I made great money at the time. I was straight out of high school, living at home with my mom and dad, made great money. So then I met the woman of my dreams, and that was even crazier because then I'm like, she don't want some guy that's not going to have a good job or a steady job. So that's when I made I was going to go to UTI and go to diesel mechanic school. And so we went and visited UTI in Houston. And my dad's like, you don't want to be a grease monkey. He's like, you want to get into the air conditioning side of it. You got a screwdriver and a set of gauges. That's it. I'm like, okay, that's what I'll do. So that's how I got into the air conditioning world and worked my way up. I went to work for a mechanical contracting business and I never had to ask for a raise. So that was pretty cool. I worked and I just worked and worked my way all the way up with that company and got into operations and sales with those guys. And it was just, at that time, it was 2008, I think. So I was there for like 8 years. And so I just said, hey, it was a time for parting. I needed to spread my wings and do something further. So I went to work for another mechanical company and worked for those guys for 2 years and grew his business, doubled his business, in no time. And at that time, me and my wife made the decision. She was pregnant with our third child and due in May. And this was in January or February. She was like, why don't you just go into business for yourself? And I'm like, oh boy. So I'm like, well, now's the time. So we did it. And that was in January, February of 2011. And so from there till like April, I didn't even get a phone call for work. And I'm like, oh my God. But what's so great is I could always fall back, go grab my tools and get a job tomorrow. So that's what she always said. She's like, you don't have nothing to worry about. You're great tech. People always calling me, asking me if I was available. She's like, you can go back to work. So yeah, we ran our own mechanical contracting business for 8 years and winded it down the end of this year. And now I'm at Bluon Energy selling refrigerant. I never thought that was an option, but hey, it worked out great.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great story.
Yeah.
I want to pick different little parts in that to talk about that I kind of noticed when you said, so when you were in high school, you said you had really no idea what you wanted to do after high school. I was kind of in the same boat. A different family business was kind of planned out for me. But either way, whether I did that or I didn't, I knew one thing, and that's that I didn't want to go to college. It just wasn't my cup of tea. So let me ask you, obviously you knew about the trades in high school because your family was in it.
Correct.
Right? You said that you didn't really want to get into that line of work at first. Why is it that you wanted to focus on those stock markets, and
I think it was a perception out there.
Okay.
It was like I don't know what my mindset was at that time, really and truly. It was like I told you earlier. I'm like, hey, one of my things growing up was like, I'm not going to work somewhere with my name on my shirt.
Yeah.
And then I ended up doing exactly that. But it's my whole family was blue collar. My dad was in the chemical plants as a crane operator. My uncle was an electrician. My grandfather was a pipe fitter. My other grandfather was a iron worker. Another uncle of mine was a pipe fitter. So my whole family was in some type of industry, but they're all in the chemical plants. Mm-hmm. And my dad swore he would never let me work in the chemical plants. And I think it was a lot. I think that happens a lot.
Sure.
Dads are like, hey, you're not going to do electrical work. You need to go do something better. But then they start thinking about it. Well, it provided us a great living. Why not?
Yeah.
And so, in high school, I didn't really know what I was going to do. And so then when this air conditioning deal hit me and my dad's like, hey, slap me upside my head and go, hey, you will need to do air conditioning. It just came easy to me. So UTI was a 14-month program for air conditioning. I finished it in 6 months. So I went to school from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. and never was late. And so I went to the graduation. I went to the graduation in December. Great time to graduate air conditioning school. So I went to graduation. They're like, hey, you're number one in the class. I'm like, number one in the class? How is that even possible?
Do you know me?
Yeah.
Is this a mistake?
I was in the top 50 of my graduating high school class out of 54. I mean, come on, guys. So they're like, yeah, you're number one. I'm like, man, that was easy. So air conditioning just came very simple to me. So it was actually, it's fun. So actually, air conditioning work is fun. I love it.
Very cool, very cool. So you had mentioned you thought it was about the perception in high school. What is it, do you think, the perception of tradesmen are right now, as far as like from a high school student's perspective? They see, because I know when I was in high school, I didn't really have a perception at that point in time because I didn't know much about it.
Right.
No one was educating me about it. My dad wasn't in the trades really at that time. That's when he kind of started to transition, into the trades work. But I never really had a thought or an idea on it because I wasn't versed in it. So
right.
What do you think the perception from a high school student's perspective right now is of somebody who's working in the trades, either electrician, HVAC tech, what have you?
Well, I don't think they totally understand what the trade brings. They see a guy out there driving a van, he's dirty. They don't realize this guy's making 6 figures a year. Mm-hmm. And he may be working for a small company that they're paying all his benefits for him and his wife, for all the stuff he has behind it. The only thing they know is, hey, if I go get my college degree, I'm going to get this job and I'm going to get, benefits and this and this. But, really, come back around is the trades, we are lacking in the trades.
Yeah.
And in the Houston market, I can tell you right now, you cannot find a good air conditioning, electrician, plumber. If they're good, they're working, and you're not going to get them from nobody. Yep. They're just not out there.
And that's just it. And the ones that are out there, like you said, they're working for a company already, and that company is most likely smart enough to not let them go.
Right.
And that means benefits, that means pay, that means flexibility. It means whatever it has to mean in order to retain that
employee.
That employee. That's right.
That's the way I was when I left off my tools to go into sales and operations. I made very good money, mm-hmm. and I got full benefits for me and my family paid for, flexibility of, when I first started, I worked every bit of overtime there was, mm-hmm. and that was my learning time.
Yeah. And
so I did everything I could do to learn every bit of thing I could learn about the air conditioning trade at the time. And so when they said overtime, I'm like, yeah, me. And so sometimes my owner would be like, that I work for, he'd be like, you can't work tonight because you need to work service tomorrow. I'm like, I'll do both. That's just the mindset I had. And that's the mindset I grew up with, and the ethics I grew up with working. That's the way my dad was.
Yeah.
He'd work all the time.
That is wonderful. I'm glad you brought that up because it is, that's the way to succeed in the trades.
Right.
Is to absorb every ounce of information that you can from anybody you can, whenever you can, no matter what the circumstance. I've had guys here do the same thing, hand up, I'll work the overtime,
right.
I'll do it. And those are the ones that excel and succeed faster and more efficiently than anybody else in the trade, because if you turn down those opportunities, if you say, well, you know what, I'd rather go home and play Xbox tonight. I'll catch it on the next one. People don't realize how detrimental that is. Almost from like a domino effect, because not only are you not gaining the knowledge that you could have gained, yeah, it's hard work, but now you're also generating a different perspective, a different perception from your employer.
Right.
Because employers value hard work, and sacrifice. Just bluntly put, that's what they want to see, is the drive and the motivation and the want to be the best.
Right. Correct. It's not going to be overnight.
Right.
So when I broke out into the air conditioning world, I went to tech school. So I was a technician. That was in my head. I was a technician. But I learned very quickly that if I wanted to get to the place I wanted to be at and make the kind of money I wanted to make, I needed to learn it all. And so not only was I doing technician work, running service, as I was banging sheet metal together, I learned to fit pipe. I actually learned to weld pipe. So when they do chill water plant changeouts for this mechanical contractor I worked for, I'd be there working weekends welding pipe for them. I would do whatever it took. I'd run electrical. I'd do it all. So I'd had knowledge of all of it. And that's why, like I told you, I never had to ask for a raise.
Yeah. And that's evident because, when you work that way, then you don't have to, because people see your value.
Right.
And it's like that adage, right? Do today what others won't, so you can have tomorrow what others can't.
Right.
And the trades themselves fully offer that opportunity to anybody who's willing to adopt that mindset.
Right. And it was just like we were talking. If you do all that work, you're not stuck in that position for the rest of your life.
Right.
So in the trades are ever evolving, and you see it every day. I see it every day. So there's so many room for opportunities to grow in a certain trade.
Yeah.
Like me, I never thought I'd be selling refrigerant. I always, in my mindset, so I'd always work for a contractor. I'm selling refrigerant now, working for a manufacturer. But it's a whole different. It's still in the same trade, but it's different.
Sure.
So there's so much room for growth in every trade. So you can go be a service manager, you can go be a sales manager, you can go be operations, you can go be, you can go be the guy that does all their social media. You can, there's, and you may be really good at computers. And so if you're in the HVAC world, you may go do controls, and work your way up through there.
So many different paths and trajectories that people can follow in this industry. And I think it's important to point out, I don't see your name on your shirt right now.
No, it's not there. And I think that's a lot of people maybe it's a perception that people think, well, if I go be an auto mechanic, I'm just going to be an auto mechanic. Well, no, you can own your own shop.
Yep.
No, you can go be the service manager for the dealership. Yep. No, you can go be the operations manager for the dealership. It's left up to whatever you're willing to put into it. If you don't put nothing into it, you're not going to get nothing out.
That's right.
So it's all out there for the taking.
Absolutely.
And there's
even more so now.
A lot more so now. Yeah. Maybe not as much 20 years ago, but the world's and it's changing so fast, and we do not have the people in the trades, and you see that every day.
Right.
You can't find people to hire.
Yep.
And so when a good person comes in the door, they're going to get hired, and if they show that they want the job, you're going to keep them, and you're going to pay them more to keep them, and then you're going to find ways to grow them.
That's right. And it's a trickle-down effect, too, because as, more techs retire than techs entering the business.
And that's happening every day.
Every single day, the value of the techs that are still in it goes up, but in turn, guess what? Now the price of service goes up.
Right.
The price of everything goes up because of this gap that we're seeing in the skilled labor sector. So, it's an interesting dynamic that's forming right now. And I think, a lot of it has to do with back in I think it was 60s and 70s when college started to make a big push to act and run more like businesses than educational institutions.
Right.
Which, again, I'm not trying to bash colleges, but, listen, everybody has something they're good at. But if you judge a fish on his ability to climb a tree, he's going to be calling himself stupid for the rest of his life.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah, and it's crazy. So my sister, she graduated from Baylor University with a speech and communications degree. And she's doing great. I probably make more money than she makes. Samantha, don't worry about it. It'll be okay. But and I went to a tech school. So it's just, it's what's there for you. Hey, if you want a college degree, go get you a tech degree and get in a trade and do it at night. You don't have to go into debt to do it.
Exactly.
And you're going to make, in a few years, you'll be making six figures. I mean, just about with overtime and everything in it, most guys that are at the top of their game in a trade are making six figures.
Yeah, which people just don't realize. They, like you said, they see the grease, they see the dirty uniforms.
Right.
They don't see what he pulls up at home into.
Right. They don't see his Corvette or his BMW,
right.
his 4,000 square foot house,
his RV, his boats, his toys.
Yeah.
They don't see all of that.
Right.
So let me ask you this: you've been in the trades a long time. And one of the things that I like to touch on is what people can learn from the trades, from not only from like a fundamental life skill standpoint, but also from a character development standpoint. So what would you say the most important lesson that the trades have taught you is so far?
Hard work.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to work hard.
Yep.
If you're, and I see it a lot with young guys coming, especially in HVAC to trade. It's so freaking hot outside.
Yeah.
And they last one summer. Mm-hmm. Dude, do it a little bit longer.
Yep.
Give it a try. Put in some effort. I mean, so you're going to go down and work at McDonald's and flip burgers for $13 an hour.
That's it.
$10 an hour, whatever it is nowadays.
Yep.
Do
what's hard in life will be easy. Do what's easy in life will be hard.
Exactly. That is it. I mean,
and that's all across the board, not just in the trades. That's everything.
And I think I learned that coming up in life with my dad, my grandpa, uncles, all of them in the trades and working in the plants and stuff. You had to work hard.
Yeah.
And I mean, so my dad made it to sales, with no really any education. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't even really know if he graduated high school. So, and he was making, way up in the six-figure range. Yeah. In sales. So
and that's amazing.
So he was making killer money, It's just crazy.
Yeah, and it's work ethic, like you said.
It is.
And when we say hard work, I hope that everybody out there is understanding exactly what that means. It doesn't always mean just putting in as many hours as you possibly can.
No, it's not.
It's the whole thing, right?
It's correct.
It's the hard work in the sense that you want to always be learning. Exactly.
And learning more.
Right.
And so that goes back to my deal. So if you hire a guy to do HVAC, but he's willing to learn more, you as an owner are going to put in more effort to him.
That's right.
And so you both get more out of it. And so if you just show up to your job and you got to be there from 8 to 5 and you show up there at 8 and leave at 4:30, nobody's getting nothing out of it. No. And eventually you're going to go to another job and go another job. So if you go into the trades, and so it's changed. So 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you go work somewhere for 40 years. That's not so much the case now. And sometimes you may have to make some moves to get to the place you want to be, and you have to understand that. I mean, you will top out at some places.
Yep.
And you have to understand when you top out there, if you're still willing to learn and move, that you may have to make a change. And it's just part of life.
Right. That's circumstance, and that's career advancement.
Correct.
And that's you just always have to be aware of what you want, how you define success, and what it's going to take to get there, whether that means leaving. But like you said, making yourself a revolving door, just going from company to company, that'll keep you a job, but that won't.
That won't get you where the first guy I worked for when I broke out in this industry, I still talk to him daily, the owner. We have a great relationship. Even though I left him, we still have a great relationship because I didn't burn the bridge.
Sure.
We just both come to an understanding at my point in my life and his point in his company that I was no longer going to be able to make the kind of money I wanted to make there.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm sorry, but I just can't pay you what you're worth. Mm-hmm. You need to leave and go somewhere else.
Yep.
And we come to an understanding.
And that's great. And I think maybe that's another thing that the trades can teach is communication.
Correct.
Because you had to properly communicate that in order for both sides to be amicable about it, right?
Right.
But as a technician especially, when you're dealing with even whether it's residential or commercial, you've got people that you need to explain complex problems to, and it also explain complex solutions, and then come back and answer any questions that they have, even though they don't know exactly what they're asking.
Right.
So you are really honing your communication skills
right.
through this whole process, which I think is also important.
And if you ever want to be humbled, own your own business.
Yeah.
It's there's nobody telling you good job. And it's great for some people. I mean, it's totally great. We owned our own business for 8 years. And it was great. I had a great time doing it. It was fun, but it's very humbling.
Yeah.
And it's very stressful. And you realize how much little bit of money the owner does make.
Yeah.
Once you open up your own business, you're thinking he's over there making serious bank, and you're like, when you get down to the end of it, you're like, oh, okay, how did he even make his rent?
Yep. Meanwhile, other people's perception of you being a business owner is like, oh, this guy's rich.
Yeah, he's killing it, man.
Yeah, which I mean, you can be, but
Yeah.
it's cycles and it's the stress, because
Correct.
it's one month you'll lose $1,000, the next month you'll make $10,000.
Correct.
The next month then you'll make $100, the next month you'll lose $2,000.
Right.
So, and it's this.
Yep.
It is basically okay, you can do this and it can be exponential at as much as you want it to be, but how long are you going to be able to
Hold on to that.
To hold on to
Yeah,
exactly.
I did it for 8 years, and it's like I think I aged 20 years in the 8 years. It was terrible. But I started from nothing when I opened my business.
Right.
I left the last company I worked for and had a truck and some tools.
Yeah.
That was it. I think I had $500 or something.
And that's impressive in itself.
Right.
And it's all about the individual too, because you know what? I mean, for some people, that climb and that those peaks and valleys could be what they live for.
Right.
They could absolutely love that, and then somebody else could say, okay, well, I really don't need this shit.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And that's really just the bottom line. So again, it goes back to living your own definition of success, but you have to do it to know, and the trades give you an opportunity.
They
to
do.
So.
So if you have a set of tools and you're in a trade, as long as you get your license through whatever state license required, I mean, you can open up your own business, run your own shop.
That's it.
I mean, you can do your own thing. If you want to. I mean, it's very simple. You can leave one place one day and go to work for another place the next day. I mean, you can travel all over the country.
Yep.
I mean, you can find work anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's one of the keys.
Anywhere.
I mean, if you know any trade, you can get a job just about anywhere in the United States,
There are certain-
or anywhere in the country, basically,
Or the world.
Really,
There are basic fundamentals to keep human beings alive, and the trades are at the base of each one.
right. People are going to have a car. People are going to have air conditioning. People are going to have lights.
Yep.
People need homes to live in.
Yep.
It's there.
Yeah,
And it's there to
absolutely.
stay. It's not going anywhere.
And people don't realize either, right? I mean, look at the generation now coming up and being on Instagram every day and
Right.
Facebook every day. Do they realize that without electricians, they can't scroll through Instagram? Do
Right.
they realize that without
computer
plumbers?
programmer.
Yeah, exactly. Programmers, do they realize that without plumbers, they're
toilet ain't gonna flush.
That's
That's
right.
gonna get bad
That's
real
right.
quick.
There's a lot of things that I think that we take for granted that we just completely graze over the fact that it's a result of a tradesman at some point.
Right. And I think the trades are just the big push. Like when I was in high school in the 90s, it was college.
Yeah.
And so in Texas, we used to have vocational ag shops in every high school. And they used to teach basic trades. Some of them may teach electrical, mechanic work. And so a lot of guys out of high school had basic knowledge of how tools work. A lot of those programs have gone away, especially in the inner cities.
Yep.
Some of the rural communities still have them, but they're not as strong as they used to be.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to go to college. And I don't knock it. Hey, if that's your thing, go. But have a purpose.
Do you? Yeah.
There's so many people going to college, and we see it all the time with some younger friends of ours that are getting out of college and have nowhere to go. They're like, well, I went and got this business degree, or I went and got this, agricultural degree. What do I do now? Where do I find work? And then they go find a job, barely getting by, and they got $100,000 in debt to pay back.
Yep.
Where they could have went to a union, a non-union, to a tech school, and spent nothing, or just go to work for a great company, and they'll put you through the programs.
Yep. Absolutely, and there's so many different options that people just aren't aware of. And the shop class leaving high school, we all have heard that whole thing.
Right.
Shop class no longer budget cuts. What I'm a little upset about is why not incorporate an aspect of the trades into high schools, because it provides these kids with another option and at least lets them know that it's out there. Like physics, for instance, teach the combustion of a burner.
Right.
Or science class, why not teach the theory of refrigeration?
Right.
I didn't
Exactly.
learn that in high school.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's what's so crazy is here's the whole deal is we're failing as a whole society, because what's happened to these kids that don't go to college? They don't know about the trades. They're going to work at McDonald's. They're already on, they'll already be on government benefits because they can't afford to live. If we teach them something and point them in a direction, we need those people.
Yeah.
And most of them are smart enough.
Yeah.
They're very smart. And a lot of them have good ethics. They just, nobody's pointed them into a direction.
Right.
And go, hey, here's some options. Do you know you could be a millwright, a pipe fitter, a welder, a plumber, electrician, HVAC?
Yep. And also make more than a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant,
got-
if you so choose.
I got rig welders that I know they're making, some serious money right now that's just like, wow.
Yeah. That
You
makes
know.
you take a step back and be like, even I didn't know that was.
Right.
You
It's
know.
like, cool, that's more than I build an hour for my guys being out on a, I'm like, golly, okay.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
So tell me this. Professionally, what do you love most about what you do?
That's a tough question. Well, I love it all.
Yeah.
And so where I ended up now is because of the type of person I am. I love people.
Yeah.
I love this right here. I just love building relationships. No matter if somebody does business with me or doesn't do business with me, I don't care. I just like the relationship part of it. I like talking to people, dealing with people day to day. And so that's why I kind of veered that way when I come off my tools, was towards sales.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I started into my operations of my business, I didn't have that ability. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was so concentrated on the operation
On
of
the
the
numbers
business.
and the.
So, and I just got burnt out with that portion of it. I like this portion of it where I'm just dealing with people and building relationships. And, like I told you, it doesn't matter if you do business with me or not. Hey, call me up.
Yeah.
I'll build a relationship with you. We'll hang out.
Right.
We'll go grab a beer and a burger or something. That's what I enjoy.
Yeah.
That's what I truly enjoy. And that's what I love. That's what I love doing.
I've heard that a lot, from people, and because they, I've talked to a lot of people kind of like you that have different paths,
Right.
And each path that they try, they find what they like, what they don't like, and then they eventually land on one that plays to what they enjoy doing,
Right.
I same thing. I love building relationships and talking to people. I still associate with facility managers that have long fired my company.
Right.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And nothing personal. Look, I was too expensive. They,
Right. It's just
powers
business.
the powers that be say, hey, we got to look for somebody cheaper, and but it's about the relationships, because at the end of the day, we're all human. We're
Right.
we're social creatures. And,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it.
Good. So if you could say one thing to listeners about choosing a career in the trades, what would it be? Like, why, if there was one thing that you could say you need to enter the trades for this reason, what would that be?
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind.
You don't have to worry
There it
about
is.
it. I got a family. I got 3 kids. I got a beautiful house. I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
If this doesn't work out, I can grab my tools and go to work for somebody tomorrow.
Yep.
It's peace of mind. I don't have to worry about hitting layoffs. Everybody needs an air conditioner.
Yeah.
And they're going to pay for it one way or another.
That's right.
Even building owners, homeowners. There's peace of mind there. If one company does lay you off, it's because they lost some customers and another company next door got them.
Exactly.
So you could just go over to the company, or you go get your own license and get your own insurance,
Yeah.
or you go do it on your own.
Yeah. Those opportunities will always be there.
And so it's you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about being in a corporate world, being in an office that's say oil industry where they're going to come in there and lay off 10,000 people or something.
Yeah.
They're not going to do that in the air conditioning industry or the trade industry. They can't.
No. Right.
They can't afford to.
Which is just amazing, right? Because one of the whole reasons and one of the whole big pushes for college was safety and security. Being able to get a good job. And that was great 40 years ago, or
Right.
Whatever. But
Right.
the trades are
Hurting because of it.
Exactly, they're hurting because of it, and a lot of times, like you just said, they're more secure of an option because you can do something that these guys can't.
I see guys going to college and then turn around and getting into a trade.
Yeah.
Because they can't find a job, or they can't find a job making enough money to support themselves.
Yeah.
And so they go to a 4-year college and they go back into a trade type of business.
Yeah.
So it's, hey, if they'd have done that from the word go.
Got 4 years experience now.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's just whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But the trades need a lot of people, and there's serious money out there to be made in any part of the trades.
Absolutely.
You can't just look at the trades as a lot of people look at air conditioning, electrical, plumbing. There's so many options out there that it's ungodly of what direction you can go. So if you think you want to be in computers, or you think you want to be in like a millwright, So millwrights are cool, man. They work on all kinds of cool motors and stuff. They're cool people, man.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of depends. My father-in-law was a machinist. You know, he made a good living his whole entire life as a machinist. That's another good trade. I mean, there's just so many of them out there, and some of them people don't ever think of.
Yep, absolutely. Something that again, you know, I don't know if it's taken for granted or if it's just the education isn't there,
Right.
you know, as to what they are, what they do, you know, but I never saw in any of my career aptitude tests in school, nothing ever pointed me towards a trade. I got cab driver once, you know, so, you know, I mean, tell me how that works out.
Right.
But,
Maybe you ought to become an Uber driver then.
maybe. But so, okay, so I know you got a busy day ahead of you here in Phoenix, so we'll try to wrap this up.
Yeah.
But so personally, how would you define success, and how have the trades helped you, or how are they helping you achieve that?
Well, without the trades, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And today is success. The relationship today is success. It's hell, I was happy to wake up today. It's successful. You know, it's I'm happy. I'm happy where I'm at. Like I told somebody last night. I told Mike Mayberry last night. I said, man, if I won $100 million tomorrow, I wouldn't quit my job. So to me, that's success. I love what I do right now, and I think I'll keep loving what I do because this is the type of person I am. And everybody told me, you're great at sales. I'm like, I don't even want to do sales. I'm not sales. I just like building relationships.
Yeah.
And I like just, you know, like I told you, I don't care if somebody buys something from me or not. But if I build a relationship, if they don't buy something from me, they have a friend that might.
Exactly.
You know, and so it's been great. I love it. And I couldn't trade it for anything in the world.
Nice.
You know what I mean? So it's you know, the trades are just, they're killer, man.
Yeah.
Look at them.
Look
High
at
school
it.
kids.
That's it.
Look at the trades. give them a valuable option out there. You know, look at them.
Yep.
You can come out of high school in a couple years. I'll give you 4 years out of high school. You could be making close to 6 figures.
Yep, and I want anybody who does take Todd's advice here, I want them to come back to this podcast and comment on it, no matter where you're listening, where you're watching, and thank him profusely for saying, get into the trades, look at the trades, and highly consider it if you're unsure at all about what it is you want to do.
Right, for sure. Reach out to me. Reach out to Josh. There's a lot of people out there that are really going for it, you know. Reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to answer a question.
Absolutely.
Or try to point you in a direction of somebody that can answer the question if we can.
Absolutely.
You know,
and with our network, I'm sure we can.
Yeah, I'm sure. Most definitely.
Cool. Well, Todd, that's pretty much all I have for you. We're gonna wrap it up here, but I want to thank you very much for coming on and talking about this and educating our viewers on you know, this aspect of the trades.
Well, great. Thank you so much for having me.
All right.
All right.
Cool. That's fun.
Yeah, that was great, man.